Am I the asshole for taking the diamond out of an heirloom ring for my girlfriend's engagement ring? I, 28 male, have a 32 female sister and a 37 male brother. My grandmother left my mother her diamond engagement ring. My mother always said that she would leave the ring to my sister, 32 female, but my sister recently told her that since she has an engagement ring from her husband and she's not really into jewelry anyway, why not leave grandma's ring to one of my brother's kids, as my sister is child-free. A couple of months ago, I told Mum that I was going to propose to my girlfriend, and she offered me Graham's ring to do it with. My girlfriend was amazed at the size of the rock, but didn't like the ring. It was a traditional solitaire setting in white gold, and asked if we could take the diamond out and use it in something more modern. She picked up a new platinum setting with a couple of smaller diamonds, and I was glad to save money. When my mother found out, she was surprised but not upset, and asked if she could have the setting back. The inside was engraved with my grandparents' initials and a message. I didn't have any use for it, so I said sure. This weekend, my fiancé and I and my sister and her husband were visiting my parents for Father's Day, and my sister was excited and asked to see Missy's ring. When my fiancé held out her hand, my sister had a surprised Pikachu face and said she thought that I was proposing with Graham's ring. I told her that it was Graham's diamond, and she said, "Oh," and that was it. On Sunday, I noticed my mother was wearing the old setting, but it had a blue stone, a sapphire. I asked her what that was about, and she said that my sister took it to a local jeweler and had the new stone put in, and gave it to her as an early birthday present, and Mum was all happy that she could still wear the setting, which she'd missed having on her finger, as she used to wear it all the time. I confronted my sister later that night and asked her what her problem was. She said nothing at first, but I kept pushing, and finally she said, "Look, if I knew that you were going to mutilate Graham's ring, I wouldn't have told Mum to give it to you." I said she didn't. She said Mum should have given it to one of the nephews. Sis said that's because she's assumed Mum would want to keep it during her lifetime. Then she said if all Missy and I wanted was the diamond, that was our prerogative, but the setting was a piece of family history and sentimental, and she didn't want it getting tossed aside. I thought she made me look bad and said so. She told me to get over myself. I called her a cow. She told me that if I'm getting married, I should think about growing up, and walked off. And I feel like she spoiled my engagement gift to Missy. I feel like your sister has a point here, and I do think that you are ruining a piece of family history with this one. And yeah, it was sentimental. She didn't want it getting tossed aside. It seemed like you had no problem with the setting getting tossed aside. If your mum hadn't asked for it, it probably would have gone missing and disappeared entirely. Yes, that's an assumption, but I feel like I'm not entirely wrong on that one. You thought she made you look bad? No, you made yourself look bad in this situation. You called her a cow? I think you should grow up in this situation, and I do think you're the asshole here. Info. Confronted your sister about what? What could you possibly think that she did wrong? Edit, you're the asshole, obviously. I'm puzzled too. Why does this bother him at all? It makes sense that the setting would get a new stone so that it could still be used. It bothers him because on some level, he knew that it wasn't a good look to take the diamond out of the ring in the first place. She highlighted the fact that OP cannibalized his mother's ring for the expensive, sparkly bits and showed total disregard for the sentimental value that it had to his mother. Then she did something thoughtful to salvage the setting for his mother and make her happy because she possesses enough empathy to understand that her mother made an actual sacrifice for this selfish, egotistical a-hole. He's mad because he realizes he was thoughtless and materialistic and greedy and self-involved, and it's been silently exposed with a simple, kind gesture. Sister didn't have to say a word. Her actions were exquisitely poetic condemnation. If he were a thoughtful, generous son, he would have noticed his mother's hurt, disappointment. He would have been the one to have it reset as a gift for his mother, but it never occurred to him. His sister's empathy and kindness shines a glaring light on his lack of character. Unexposed is titled, Am I the Asshole for Getting Angry at My 29 Male Girlfriend 28 Female for Hiding That She Speaks Spanish? My family is from Mexico, but I was born in the US. I am the only one in my family who doesn't speak Spanish. All my extended family, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, etc., speak it, but I never really cared for it that much. Katia, my girlfriend, knows I am Mexican, and she asked if I spoke Spanish, but when I said no, she didn't push, which I found refreshing. Usually people ask a lot of questions. She never said she spoke Spanish, but I remember her watching something and hearing Spanish, but I figured she had subtitles on. If it's important, Kate is from Germany. Katia and I have been together for 3 months. It's not long, but it's been intense. My grandmother had a birthday on Saturday, and my family threw her a huge party. I invited Katia to come along with me, as it would be a perfect time to meet my family, and they are always very welcoming. Katia agreed. When we got there, everyone switched to English to speak to Kate, but they quickly went back to Spanish. I went to grab a beer and came back to find Katia talking to my aunt in Spanish. I came over and played it cool, telling her I didn't know she spoke it, yada yada. When Katia was with me, she spoke English, but whenever she spoke to one of my family members alone, she switched because they switched. It made me really uncomfortable, especially since it wasn't your typically barely spoken Spanish, it was full-on, fluent Spanish, and she understood my fast-speaking relatives. I got really annoyed with her but said nothing. My grandma told me how much she loved Katia and how she's happy that I found such an amazing girl. All my family loved her and couldn't stop singing praises about her. On our way back, I got really angry with her, and when we got to my apartment, I told her that I feel betrayed that she hid that she spoke Spanish and how she made a fool out of me out there. I admit that I was shouting because I was so angry. I felt humiliated. She asked me to calm down and told me she never hid anything. I accused her of sneakily making her way into my family instead of having them warm up gradually. She asked if I was being serious and I confirmed. She called me a jerk and left my apartment. I was too angry to stop her. I am waiting for her to call me with apologies, but she hasn't been in touch since Saturday night. I told my brother about it, and he told me that I'm the fool, but I really feel disrespected by Katia. Am I the asshole for getting angry and shouting that she hid that she spoke my language? Hey, Mexican here. Spanish was something that was required at home, but not extremely relevant at school for myself. I had to learn English and switch it to my primary language in order to move forward in academics, socialization, etc. Along the way, because of crap narratives and personal insecurities, I lost my interest in my native language. My Spanish is extremely broken. I can understand when people speak Spanish, I can respond in English and Spanish, but my broken Spanish alone is still uncultivated. I admit that I feel shame, guilt, and anger when I can't find the confidence to connect with my own raza. I'm no saint, nor am I saying I've ever been petty about this position before. There's a lot to unpack for yourself here. Relationship dynamics, family dynamics, inner dynamics, so I can see why you got mad. The fact of the matter is, though, that your partner most likely didn't bring up the fact that she speaks fluent Spanish because of your own disconnection to your native tongue. You didn't want to be subjected to questions about your own choices, which I understand and respect. So did she. The fact that she was more than willing to connect with your family on their own comfort level isn't something to be mad about, and you know that. You're upset about your own choices, and it's okay to feel guilt about not being as excited, interested, passionate, or invested in your own culture when it comes to the language. She's not in the wrong for knowing another language, or for making sure your comfort was first and foremost, or for making sure that your family was comfortable engaging with her on a level that she knew that she could meet them in. She wasn't being sneaky, vindictive, she didn't lie, nor did she have bad intentions. You're just insecure about your own choices, and you have a lot of habits to break down for yourself and the longevity of your future relationships. There is no way to sugarcoat it. You're in the wrong, and you could do well with better awareness of yourself. So you're the asshole for unjustly yelling, embarrassing, judging, and invalidating your most likely ex-girlfriend just because she was being a wholesome and diverse individual. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that she doesn't need to be with her sick friend at the hospital? So my wife has a friend from childhood named Anthony. I'm being completely honest here when I say that he and I don't get along. It's not like he's rude or disrespectful, nothing like that, but all I feel towards him is annoyance, so to speak, because of how much my wife sees him. He lives alone and now suffers from a medical condition, cancer, that requires him to go to the hospital regularly to receive treatment. I found out that my wife promised him to go with him to his every chemo treatment as support. She said that it's a commitment she made to be there for him during this rough time, since he has no one else besides him. Okay. I had no issue with that at first, but then this started affecting me. For example, I can't go see my friends because I have to stay with my son on X day so my wife could be with Anthony for his treatment, etc., etc. I've talked to her about it, but she just said that Anthony needs company and that she's just being supportive, and this is when he needs her the most. I let it go, but last week was just kind of my last straw. Anthony had another chemo session treatment, and my wife wanted to go with him and asked me to stay home with our son. I told her that I had a meet-up with my mum and sister to eat lunch and that I won't be home. She said that she needed to go be with him, and I kind of flipped out at her and said that she doesn't need to be with him and could literally go see him at home the next day or something. She threw a fit and called me cruel for forcing her to leave Anthony by himself since she's all that he has, and that I was making her look bad. She also said my appointment with mum and sister wasn't as important as a chemo session, but I decided to just leave to end the argument. She ended up staying at home but kept ignoring me when I got back, calling me selfish for not letting her be there to support Anthony with what he's going through. Some of her girlfriends think that I'm being a controlling jerk with no consideration for Anthony and what he's going through. Am I the asshole? Yes? You are the asshole? At least I think you're the asshole. I find it hard not to think that you're an asshole in this situation. Maybe the only people in this universe that will agree that you're not the asshole in this situation are like psychopathic narcissists or something like that. I mean, I don't want to put a label on people, but I think that's what it'd be. I think you absolutely deserve to be called selfish for not letting her be there to support Anthony. This man could literally die from cancer, and you see no problem keeping your wife from being there to support him? Yes, you suck. You're the asshole. Did you really type all that out without realizing you're the asshole? I don't understand. Why do you think going to lunch or out with your friends is more important than someone going to chemo? Why can't you schedule your fun time on a different day than when your wife's friend has chemo? Why do you think that you are watching your son? He's your son too. Why can't you take your son with you to lunch with your mum/his grandmother? You're the asshole, and I can't think of one legitimate answer to these questions that would change that. OP makes it sound like his wife just springs these appointments on him last minute, but I really doubt that. Chemo is booked well in advance, and OP is probably well aware of the schedule. Why do these appointments always seem to coincide with OP having plans as well? Either OP always has plans and is consistently leaving his wife with his son, or he's making plans deliberately to coincide with these chemo appointments. Ultimately, we're being left in the dark on some important details, and those details likely make OP look even worse than he already does. Wait, so your wife had the nerve to ask you to parent your own child for a few hours while she helped a friend who was going through one of the most horrific treatments in the world for cancer? So it interfered in your bro time, your time to hang out with your family at a restaurant, and so you threw a tantrum and then left so she couldn't help her dying friend. And you wonder if you're the asshole. Of course you're the asshole. Chemotherapy might take several hours, so I understand the son can't accompany the wife to the hospital, but why can't you bring him to the lunch? Yes, yes, and yes, you're the asshole. The day you get cancer, I hope you remember that you thought lunches should take priority over supporting the sick person, and I hope your wife remembers it too and goes out for a nice lunch and lets you deal with your treatments by yourself. Some guys would be overjoyed that they have a wife that is loyal and caring, but you whine over it. So I recently went and got a kitten with my husband. The seller had 5 identical black kittens, and despite wanting a girl one, they only had a boy one left ready to collect in 2 weeks. Because it's so hard to purchase cats these days, I decided to settle with a boy and gave a deposit for him. The seller called a week ago saying the cat was available to collect, and when we arrived, all 5 kittens were still there. The seller looked at the genders and handed me a boy, and then left the room to go grab some cat food that she was going to give us. While she was gone, I got the idea to switch the boy cat with one of the girls, so my husband quickly found a girl one. We put her in the carrier and put the boy back with the rest, and when the seller came with the food, she didn't realize that they were switched. We took the kitten and food, and left without her knowing what we did, and left to go back home. A couple of hours later, I got a call from her asking if she gave me a girl cat by mistake. I lied and pretended to check and said he was definitely a boy, and she apologized, saying she must have got the genders wrong and told me the buyer wanting a girl was refusing to have the boy cat. I told her that I was sorry that happened and reassured her that it was an easy mistake to make. I casually mentioned what we did to a coworker last night, telling her that I managed to get a girl after switching them, and she wasn't impressed. She said that I shouldn't have switched them, and that I was wrong to mess with the seller and buyer like that because I made someone wait 2 weeks for nothing, and I made the seller struggle selling it. I told her it was no big deal because the person who wanted the girl cat could look elsewhere, and this way the boy cat can go to a loving home. She still wasn't happy with me, so I told her gender doesn't matter for a cat and that sometimes you have to look out for yourself in life. Today I came into the office and everyone was acting differently around me, being cold and trying to spend as little time around me as possible. I overheard someone telling a coworker what I did, and they seemed really disgusted with me, but I don't understand how doing something so insignificant has made everyone so angry. I asked my husband if he felt guilty for doing it, and he reassured me that I shouldn't feel bad about it. I looked on the seller's profile and saw that the boy cat had been purchased, so she didn't struggle to sell him. I do feel a bit guilty for switching the cats, and everyone at work seems to be pretty irritated with me, so I feel like maybe I was in the wrong and shouldn't have switched them. Am I the asshole for switching the cats on purpose? You're the asshole. If gender doesn't matter for a cat, why did you switch them? Yup. Here's a clue. When the behavior involves deception before and after, you were probably the asshole. If something goes missing, will it be blamed on OP? If OP makes an honest mistake at work, co-workers will just think that OP is being sneaky and deceptive again. You're the asshole. Exactly this. If a co-worker clearly signaled their values and character to me in such a way, I would be very thankful for the knowledge, as it would enable me to keep a more careful watch against their backstabbing and deceit in the workplace. When someone shows you their character, believe them. You're the asshole. Yes? You stole a cat that hadn't been sold to you? On what planet would you not be the asshole? It was a sneaky, entitled, dishonest thing to do, and incredibly unfair to both the seller and the person who that cat had been sold to. Do you have no sense of right and wrong at all? If gender doesn't matter for a cat, why the F did you steal a cat of your preferred gender? You make no sense. You're a common thief, and I wouldn't want to associate myself with you either. Yup, OP, you and your husband are both thieving assholes. Not to worry though, I guarantee this is going to come back around to you. That was a really terrible thing to do, especially to the person who bought the female and the breeder. You and your husband are sketchy AF to do this, and feel no guilt. On the plus side, OP and her husband are clearly kitten-stealing soulmates, and at least nobody else has to be married to either of them. And now to the update. In case anyone actually still cares, I wanted to post here and say that I read all of the comments and I realized how much I messed up. I didn't even care that much about the genders, and I know I said that I wanted a girl more than a boy, but like I said, I was okay settling with a boy cat. I was just stupid and decided to switch them when the opportunity arose. I didn't care about the person who was supposed to get the girl cat because I didn't care that much myself and knew that me wanting a girl was superficial and assumed their reason was the same. I read a comment where someone said that they were only able to get girls due to breathing problems and how upset they would be if they had a deposit on a kitten that they weren't able to get, and it made me realize that I was really messed up. I've decided that I'm going to contact the seller tomorrow and tell them that it turns out we actually got a girl. I'm going to ask them to contact the person who originally wanted the girl cat and see if they still want her, as like I said, cats are hard to get in my area. I know a lot of people were saying to go to a shelter to adopt a cat, and I would, but it's genuinely hard to get cats these days. Despite having a big house and backyard, no shelter near us will give cats to people who live by a main road, and because my husband and I live near one, no one will give us one. It took 5 months of looking through listings to find a cat near us because they sell really quickly, so I was lucky to find the listing when I did. But now I've wasted all that time, money, and effort because I was stupid and decided to switch the cats. I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who commented on my post while it was still up. Look, I hope you have the decency to tell the seller the truth. Not that you accidentally have a girl, but that you deliberately swapped them and are very remorseful for your theft. I would also offer to return the animal without a refund, regardless of whether the previous buyer still wants the animal, as you should not get to keep anything that you gained by deception. Then maybe wait a year before getting an animal to give both your husband and yourself time to mature. I notice you still aren't addressing the reality that you stole that animal, so you clearly haven't learned your full lesson yet. Edit, just adding this because this is bothering me, if you live near a busy road, you cannot have an outdoor cat, so the size of your backyard is irrelevant unless you mention it only to say that you have built a beautiful cat run. A main road is a death sentence to an outdoor kitty. Do not let this cat outside. I hope you are actually doing this, but it isn't going to change anything with coworkers because it's still wrong. I'm not sure what happened that made this seem okay, but you probably should invest in some therapy to work on your empathy and compassion for other human beings, because this is all Narcissists 101. If you genuinely feel bad, you should seek to correct the part where you didn't care about what the potential consequences for anyone else is going to be. 1. When you made the decision, 2. When you acted on it, and 3. When the breeder called you out on it, or 4. When your coworkers called you out on it. Instead of it taking all 4 and still required polling strangers, which is essentially only caring once the response showed that it was causing you issues socially. Guaranteed, she never contacted the seller. She's just trying to save face. Yeah, the fact that she keeps saying gender doesn't matter, and she never cared about the gender, tells me she's deluding herself at best, and a full-blown liar at worst. I think it's fascinating that she initially thought her coworker would be impressed with her ingenuity in stealing a cat. Right? Gotta look out for yourself. Every coworker got that memo. Gotta look out for yourself in life? By what? Stealing small cats? Also, it's really not that hard to adopt a cat, so I feel like OP is leaving out some info, probably related to cat breed or how they came across in applications. Am I the asshole for admitting to my daughter that I hate what she changed her name to? I, 39 female, was born in Canada, but was taken to India weeks after I turned 18 and was married by my parents to my cousin who I barely knew. I was treated well by my husband, he was polite, paid for school there, took me on dates, and never forced me to do anything, and his love is why we reconnected when he came to Canada. But his mother hated me and was always yelling, calling me useless, demeaning me, and even vowing to get me divorced so my husband could marry my sister. When I got pregnant, I had to go. I couldn't subject my child to that witch. Our maid helped me return to Canada, and I named my daughter Zahira, fake name, after her. I have a good life, great job, amazing children, and am in a PhD program now, and it is because that maid took a big risk just to help me. My daughter became hateful to the name Zahira at about 10, and then pretended to have a more typical Canadian name or used a nickname. We stopped appreciating that she was named after the woman who helped us escape hell. When Zahira turned 18, she changed her name to Rahani, again, fake. I can live with a name change, but Rahani is so close to my mother-in-law's name that it triggers me. I have told her, and she doesn't care. My psychologist has helped me with this, but it hurts. I accept that she is not Zahira anymore, but I cannot say Rahani, even if everyone does, so I use pet names like Baby or Sweetie. I thought she wouldn't notice, but she has. I'm pregnant, and we learned that it's a girl. My husband said that we can name her Zahira, and my daughter said to do it so you can call me Ruhani. With all my stress, I got angry and said that she can't be replaced, and I still hate her new name. It started an argument between us, with my daughter calling me a selfish jerk for not accepting her new name. My husband understands, as he knows that I hate his mother, but my sons are on my daughter's side, and said to post here, saying people would agree that I'm the asshole. I don't like them using that word, but am I? Why exactly did your daughter hate the original name that she was given? Did she get bullied a lot for having a weird name? Because you don't really explain why she hated the name, and frankly, haven't made any indication to understand why she did. OP replies, I still do not entirely understand myself, beyond her just saying that she hates the name and refuses to go by it. Yes, there was a bullying issue at one point, but my daughter was always very open about it, and we always managed to get things resolved, and the bullies were more typical anti-Muslim bullies than just your name is weird. Not the asshole. This is rooted in trauma for you. I can't imagine how I'd feel if my daughter named herself nearly after my abuser. Your daughter is old enough to be more understanding and considerate of the situation. Even if the name was important to her, it isn't wrong to expect a bit of grace in the situation. Also, reusing a name I'd already used would make me uncomfortable. OP says, thank you, but it isn't about reusing it. It would be almost like I'm replacing my daughter with her sister, and while my mother-in-law could do that with me, I cannot. My daughter is my princess and my perfect girl. There is no replacing her no matter what her name is, even if I'll never be able to like that name. Info. Do you think that your daughter chose that name on purpose because it's so similar to your mother-in-law's name? Based on how spiteful and uncaring she sounds about the issue, I just can't help but wonder if she's doing it on purpose. OP replies, no, I cannot believe that she would do that to me. You should probably consider the possibility. Of all the combinations of letters in the world, she just so happened to choose nearly the exact name of your abuser. That is not coincidence. It really seems like she hated her original name enough that she did it to spite you, and she never experienced what you did, so she doesn't truly understand the pain that it causes, so she probably thought that it was just a minor annoyance. I'm gonna go against the grain here, and likely get blasted because assumptions are about to be made. Your relationship with your daughter is not how you believe it to be, and your daughter's perception of you is not what you think it is. For your daughter to pick a name so similar to the woman who's hurt you so much is a statement. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with you, but it's impossible to disconnect the name from the effect. She, as I'm inferring, wants to get back at you. I can't know why, only that there is something that you are not seeing, or you are being willfully ignorant of seeing. The best advice any person can give you is to have a conversation with her and ask her why she wanted to change her name and why she wanted to go with the name that she knew would hurt you so much. Because from the way this post reads, you are making this about you. It needs to be about her. At the end of the day, you're projecting something that has nothing to do with her onto her and are punishing her for it. It may be hurtful to you, but it is about her. And now to the update. I tried talking to my daughter about her old name and why she hated it, but she gave wishy-washy reasons on it never suiting her. She got angry when I asked if it was because of the bullying. I asked if she really cared about my maid sacrifice, and she said she didn't, and that what I went through in India did not seem bad. I asked if she cared how similar her name is to my mother-in-law's name. She said she didn't, and it was my issue to get over, and didn't want to hear any more nicknames or to use therapy as an excuse. After that, I don't know, I kind of regressed mentally and started having nightmares of India. I guess I got overwhelmed by stress because of that, being pregnant, and my PhD program. So I visited my brother's Fayez, 22, in Brampton for a weekend. He lives in my property there and told me that he got a job in England. He left a few days ago, and I've started the process of moving to Ontario. As my daughter goes to university here in British Columbia, she is not going with us. I guess it just was that if being around my own daughter was hurting me so much, to the point that I was scared that I'd miscarry, then I needed to be gone for both of our sakes. Making arrangements to continue working for my PhD was the most stressful thing, but that's done. Ever since I made the decision to move, I felt so much better and so free. I honestly can't wait to be gone from here. I will continue to pay for my daughter's school, living expenses, and her therapy, but maybe by living alone she'll understand what it was like for me when it was just us after I escaped. Just maybe she'll learn everything we have is because of that maid. I know I was wrong to spoil her and always indulge her, but she's always been the light that got me home. Part of me feels as if I'm abandoning her over something as stupid as a name, but soon she will be the age that I was when I was her, and every girl needs to grow up and learn empathy. I have tried to be a better mother than my own. I just hope that this is what is best for her. On the other hand, my husband and boys are so excited to move to Ontario, so I know that we'll have a good time there. Quote, I asked if she cared about my maid sacrifice, and she said she didn't, and that what I went through in India didn't seem bad. I think your daughter has had too much contact with her paternal grandmother. If she knew nothing about the situation, she wouldn't be minimizing it, which makes me think either her dad or her grandmother got in her ear and kept saying that it wasn't that bad. Either way, this comment is a slap in the face and the kind of thing that a relationship has a hard time recovering from, so I don't fault you at all for moving on for the health of you and your baby. Good luck in Ontario. I agree that she's had contact with mother-in-law a bit too much. The reality is that her husband wasn't the one who helped her escape the abuse, and maid did. OP getting back together with a member of the abusive family that, for his own reasons we aren't privy to, watched his mother abuse his wife to the point that she feared for her and her child's safety, is going to make things easy to twist in mother-in-law's favor. OP understands the pressure that her husband was under to conform to culture and traditions, so she can make a better judgment on what he was responsible for, and was a victim of too. But the daughter just sees her mum and dad happy, with no understanding of how drastically different things were for OP and her husband back then. Either the daughter has a crippling lack of empathy, or has been bamboozled by stories of, if mother-in-law was so bad, why didn't your dad stop her? Or, if OP really feared mother-in-law, why remarry into her family again? Quote, either way, this is a slap in the face, and the kind of thing that a relationship has a hard time recovering from. 100% this. I hope OP has a healthy baby, and her daughter gets her head out of her ass. Who else thinks the daughter may be in contact with mother-in-law? This is just outright mean. Being spoiled doesn't automatically make you mean in my opinion. This sucks. This was my thought too. 22-year-old single mum living in Canada probably really struggled financially, and assuming mum and dad were back together by age 10, grandma was probably like, if your evil mother hadn't taken you away from me, I would have bought you all these toys, and you would have had all these friends, and no one would have bullied you ever. Like, the daughter isn't just inconsiderate, her take of worse things happen to other people every day tells me she doesn't really believe what her mum is saying about grandma. I live in California and have been paying my rent on time and just got a notice to vacate premises within 3 days. Apparently, my house that I've been renting since April just went into foreclosure and sold at auction, and we never knew about it because our landlord stopped paying everything on the house. So a new realty company or something just bought the house and has given us a notice to vacate within 3 days. What can I do? This is super unexpected, and I just started the school semester. I have no idea what's going on. What are my rights? Do I really have 3 days to vacate? To whom did you pay your rent? Have you received notice of pay or something else? What is the cause for the 3 days notice? Do you have remaining lease term? OP replies, I pay my rent to a property management company, have received no notice to pay anyone else. Notices are as follows. Notice to vacate premises after foreclosure sale, which includes info to vacate within 3 days. Notice to any renters living at XYZ, states that our property we're renting was sold in auction. We have an existing rental agreement that lasts until March 2022. And in response to OP, someone says, I'd respond that I'm currently in a lease through to the 22nd of March and am not leaving on this notice, and I'd contact a tenant advocate or a lawyer. Yeah, they have to honor previous agreements, so you need a 30-day notice if they want you out, or 60 days if you've been there for over a year. If you have a contract, then it's valid, and they can offer cash for keys, but that's it. Buyer should have known that it's being rented. Back up to the post, there's an update. Thank you to everyone who has offered advice on how to move forward, or advice on what my rights are. I have currently emailed the new landlord that we are planning on staying for the remainder of our lease, but we are open to negotiating a cash for keys option. I let them know that we have spoken with a lawyer and are going to send our lease agreement over, as well as requesting somewhere to send our rent to. What happened was the property owner got foreclosed on because of not paying anything for the house. Mortgage, taxes, etc. We notified the property management company that we were receiving notices that the house was in possible foreclosure and auction, as we were getting notices here since late June/early July. So I doubt the property management company was clueless. And on to the big update. So I contacted the new landlord telling them that I know my rights as a tenant and would like to stay the remainder of the lease, or would be up to negotiating a cash for keys option, at the advice of some of the users on here. I was immediately told that that wouldn't be possible because our lease was fraudulent and we had to leave ASAP or they would contact the police. At the advice of multiple people on this sub, I contacted my university, which I attend, who got me in contact with multiple resources. Ended up applying for my city's EPP, Eviction Protection Program, who assigned an attorney that specializes in tenancy law to me free of charge. My awesome attorney managed to resolve the entire matter within a week. Basically told me the new landlords had no case and were more than likely trying to bully me out of my lease. She gathered all of the legal paperwork regarding the ownership of the property and who signed my lease, and spoke with the new landlord's attorney, who basically agreed 100%. I bet the new landlords are pissed. I ended up getting the new landlords to sign paperwork that same day, saying they would honor our lease. Although I'm not feeling too comfortable after this entire crap show, so I'll be considering a cash for keys option to find a new place to live. I don't want to stay in a potentially hostile tenancy environment. Basically, my attorney is a badass and I'll be getting her and her team a gift of gratitude. Try to show your attorneys some love, guys. Oh man, I got worried when I read the first one. Reddit's got me trained into thinking there would be some massive lawn tantrum and harassment involved. Thankful that OP had resources Reddit pointed them toward, and that their lawyer was excellent. I fully agree on the potential for hostility though. I'd be looking elsewhere if I were OP. Hopefully a cash for keys is possible, or at least a clean exit. Guaranteed that the new landlords are pissed because they couldn't jack up the rent immediately, or that the place they bought couldn't be moved into right away. I've seen posts on here from people who bought a new place and got there and found that there was undisclosed tenants, and legal advice basically told them, tough crap, try and get them to agree to a cash for keys or go through normal eviction procedures. I can't imagine buying a house without ever actually going to the house physically and not knowing that someone was living there. Surely that means you never actually went there. A foreclosure auction is a different animal than a regular real estate transaction. It's not unusual that you can't go inside. It's also not unusual to have to deal with tenants and squatters. If there hadn't been access to free and capable legal representation, the idiots would have gotten away with this. It saddens me to think of how many people have been screwed in these kinds of situations because we treat justice as a commodity. I will never understand the thought process of kicking people out with 3 days' notice. Like, how disconnected from other humans do you have to be to forget how awful that must be? My husband and his friends have a nickname for me in their group chat. He won't tell me what it means. So this happened a couple of days ago. My phone died right as I was texting my mum about something rather important, so my husband let me use his. As I was typing, a banner popped up with a text from one of his friends in their group chat, saying to the effect of, "Hey husband, do you and ST want to Halloween plan that we'd talked about?" So of course I'm like, who's ST? Those are not my initials. And I briefly looked at the chat. A few messages up, I was at least able to confirm ST was me, in context of my husband mentioning a specific thing that I'd done that day. Like I said, ST is not an abbreviation of my name or any name that I would go by. None of our friends call me by anything other than my real name, so I was confused. I showed him the chat and asked what it stood for. He looked suddenly really flustered. He grabbed his phone back and said, it's nothing, just a nickname. Okay, well, what's it stand for? He literally wouldn't tell me. He just kept saying, don't worry about it. Well, is there some reason that I would need to worry? I wouldn't be worrying if he just explained what it meant. I was a little put off by this, to find out all his friends are calling me something that I don't even know about. I told him even if it's just some dumb joke, at least tell me, because clamming up just makes it look kind of weird. He still refused to tell me. This entire back and forth was maybe a minute or two. Then he suddenly goes, "Okay, fine. It's super terrific." Look, I can't tell if I'm being crazy, but I just don't fully buy that. If that's all it was, why not say so the first time that I asked? I asked like 3 or 4 times for him to tell me what it stood for. Why keep avoiding it? On the other hand, I know this makes me look like a really high-strung paranoid person to be suspicious when it could so easily be what he said. I don't want to accuse him of lying with no proof, and over something so stupid. This is still bugging me a little. I just want to know if I'm being insane to have an inkling of doubt about it standing for super terrific. Do you think he was telling the truth? Would it be ridiculous to bring it up again at this point? I don't think he's telling the truth, and I don't think it would be ridiculous to bring it up again at this point. He's obviously trying to get you off this topic. Where there's smoke, there is fire. To me, super terrific is a very cringe thing to use as an out, because it just seems more suspicious. My money is on Sugar Chest. My old roommate's called Sparkle Chest due to an unfortunate clothing choice. Or stupid twat. Or sexy thing. One of these things is not like the other. Oh my god, what if it's sloppy thirds? Surely this man should have told his super terrific wife the truth once secrecy time ended. Seriously though, that's a pretty shitty thing to be caught in a lie for something that shouldn't test a marriage. Sorry to OP. Time to group chat with the other wives. Gotta go hang out with SP. Have fun. I'll be with LD. Oh my god, girls, have fun. Me and ED are in for a short night tonight. And now for the update. I ended up getting a text from one of my husband's female friends in his group chat the day after I posted here. It turns out that right after I asked him about the nickname, he told all of them that I'd seen it and to stop calling me that. She sent me a screenshot of his message, which reads verbatim, "Lol, oh crap, me just saw that. I'm so screwed, hahaha, but seriously, don't send that anymore. I'm gonna end up in the doghouse. Tears of laughter emoji." The female friend who reached out is a new addition to the group as of a couple months ago. I'd met her a couple of times on group outings, and I liked her. She told me that she was uncomfortable once she caught on that ST was me and that they was using that behind my back. Then when she was told what it stood for after my husband's message, she thought to contact me in case I didn't know about it. I am extremely grateful for this. Now the part that everyone wanted to know. A lot of you thought that it was Sugar Chest. I really wish. That would be cute and funny. Nope, not my luck. It stands for Sausage Chest. Yeah. That's what my husband and his gaggle of mental 12-year-olds refer to me as. I don't even know how or why it started. I cannot fathom the thought that my husband could have described my boobs in detail to all of his friends. And then they thought that it sounded hilarious enough to make a nickname out of? I literally don't even know what to feel. I haven't been more humiliated in my life than I am right now. I don't know what to do about him. He apologized, but because it's just a joke to him, he doesn't seem to get or care how I feel. He apologized sincerely and promised that he'd never call me that again or let any of his friends. Why did he ever in the first place? It's not a complimentary nickname that you wouldn't foresee a person not liking, right? Isn't it obvious that it's mean-spirited? Or am I crazy to assume so? Is there some way that I'm just not able to see where it's not actually as bad as I feel? Anyway, that's about it. I don't know what to do. We're sleeping in separate rooms because I can't bear to be near him or have him see me. I never want him to see me naked again. I'm trying to figure out if my need for space is temporary or permanent. If it is permanent, then I'll be pursuing divorce. I just thought so highly of him. I never could have imagined he'd view me like this behind his back. It's like if he was to gain weight and I encouraged all my friends to start calling him fat ass or beer belly behind his back. What other possible reason to do that than contempt? I said this, but he insists it doesn't have any deeper meaning and is just bad humor. Whatever. Time to put kiddos to bed while he's typing away at his phone on the other side of the room. You see, the issue is I'm realizing now there will always be a fear in my mind that he's saying nasty things about me to who knows who. So there's the update. Sausage Chest signing out. TLDR, no idea how I'll trust him again. Realistically speaking, this is likely to be another story that ends in divorce. Not even sure if he really gets it or cares. The thing is, he does get it, which is why he told his friends to stop and made a reference to the doghouse. He gets it. He just doesn't care about how it makes you feel. The "just a joke" line is what people use when they know they've screwed up. I'm so sorry. I would like to add something to your comment. He gets it. He screwed up big time. He is doing the only thing he can do, invalidating her feelings and downplaying the issue. He hopes that OP is dumb enough to fall for it. Okay, what the hell? And they all just went along with it? Frankly, my dear, you deserve better. Bare minimum, those friends wouldn't be in my house. I would definitely not be pleased as well, and I wouldn't stay friends with him. He is a terrible person for remaining friends with them. He would have to get rid of the friends in my opinion. And OP replies, I'm pretty in shock over them too. They've always been nice and included me when we hang out. I do consider them mostly my husband's friends, but we definitely get along. I just don't understand how they'd act like that with me, and then like this once I'm not around. The only one of those who is your friend is the girlfriend who told you. Hang on to that one and lose the rest, husband included. I literally gasped when I read what ST stood for. I can't imagine being comfortable around your husband or those friends if I was in your shoes. The casual cruelty of it makes it so much worse. It's disrespectful, dehumanizing, and speaks volumes about how your husband thinks of you. I'm so sorry. You deserve so much better. He should be ashamed, and the fact that he isn't only compounds things. The nasty nickname is bad enough on its own, but the fact that he still treats it like a joke and no big deal would, for me, be a deal breaker. He not only isn't smart enough to get why you would be upset, he also doesn't care that he hurt you. That is unforgivable to me. And OP says, that's what I'm afraid is going on. He's not apologizing because he hurt you. He's apologizing because it's uncomfortable for him to be, as he so eloquently put it, in the doghouse. He just wants you to forget it and move on and get back to the status quo. If my husband saw one of his friends do that, he'd be disgusted and call the guy out. Your husband's friend group is just a circle jerk of toxic masculinity. Quote, he insists it doesn't have any deeper meaning and is just bad humor. I would ask him seriously what is humorous about this. Make him explain to you why he thinks it's funny. Don't let him deflect. If it's just a joke, he should be able to tell you what the punchline is. And OP replies, I did ask how it's funny. He said the shape of my boobs was why he found it funny. The comparison. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for not wanting to babysit for my relatives anymore? In short, I agreed to help look after my cousin's child due to skyrocketing daycare costs as a temporary fix. I would give them 1 day a week. The understanding between me, my cousin, and his wife was that this was temporary, as stated. My cousin seems to have forgotten that part. He now expects me to be down there every week. Between drive time and waiting for his wife to get home and take over, that's an entire day where I do nothing but travel or babysit. I spend more hours a day watching his child than I do at my own part-time position, with no compensation. He intends for me to keep this schedule clear to fall, as he signed up for multiple college courses and decided that to accommodate this schedule, I'll be there every week and keep not only the toddler, but a newborn as well. At no point was I consulted about this idea. He's already signed up for courses and just sprung his plan on me the last time I was over. From my perspective, I'm down to 1 day a week to myself, and I spend the most of it just trying to recharge. I never leave the house now, except to go to work, get groceries, and go to their house. Between extended hours at work and babysitting, I have no energy for any of my hobbies that help me to decompress. I am completely burnt out. The thought of keeping that up for months is doing something to my mental health. I feel like I'm just a means to an end, since when my cousin's wife gets home, I'm rushed out of the house as she and the baby have somewhere to go. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of because I've tried to help once, and I know that my relatives understood that it wasn't a long-term fix to their problem. At the same time, I understand my cousin and his family couldn't have expected the sudden hike in daycare costs, and I know they are struggling financially. My cousin is trying very hard to get his degree and do better by his family, while his wife works long hours to keep them afloat. I know they don't need added stress on top of everything else, which includes having a second child on the way. I've only held out this long because I love the kid I watch. Recent events are actually why I made this post. I told my cousin that we'd have to see if I was available in the fall, which he seemed okay with. Afterwards, older relatives reached out to me about this conversation, urging me towards keeping up the current arrangement. This has frustrated me greatly, but I also wonder how much stock there is in the idea that I should suck it up because they have bigger problems than my being exhausted. So Reddit, am I the asshole for wanting to pull back from this arrangement? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I'm considering breaking an agreement with a relative that I feel has taken advantage of me. On the one hand, I might be the asshole for dipping out on someone struggling financially, but on the other hand, he moved the goalposts and expects me to work for him indefinitely for free. There's a case to be made that one of us, both of us, or neither of us are assholes. I'm gonna say I don't think you're the asshole for this one. I can very much relate to burnout and the effect that that has on your mental health and your entire life. And while I can't relate to having a child, having a second one on the way, and being in your cousin's positions, I'm always an advocate of you having to put yourself first and your needs first. Obviously, context is always very important for things like that, but definitely in this situation, I think you need to pull back and give yourself that time to breathe. There are other people that can help, but instead of helping, they're reaching out and whipping you to make sure that you stay in your lane, you stay downtrodden, and you're in your place. I don't agree with their behavior, and I don't like the way you're being treated. I think you're not the asshole. Not the asshole. And you have done way more than enough. It is completely acceptable, and in fact, you owe it to yourself to say, I know it's hard, but I can't sustain this anymore. So we need to talk about how to transition you to regular daycare, since I'm not going to be able to continue helping out in the fall. And honestly, the fact that they are having a second child when they can't even support the first shows me that they're not super concerned with being responsible here and are in fact taking advantage of your generosity and kindness. Alternatively, you could propose an amount that you would be comfortable being paid for the work. I'm sure they'd rather pay you than a stranger, and you deserve to be paid. But that's only if you want to continue doing this. If those older relatives feel this is so important, then they are welcome to pitch in. Next time they say something, tell them, you're so right, it is so important. In fact, can I schedule you for next Wednesday? Not the asshole. They obviously haven't made any effort to make other arrangements. At this point, it would be very reasonable to give notice, say 1 month to be generous, that you won't be able to babysit for them any longer. Your other relatives who are pressuring you are more than welcome to take over. You have done enough. Also, the school may offer some babysitting services. Edited to add, I looked and my daughter's university offers both on-campus childcare and subsidies for childcare. Your cousin should look into whether his college offers childcare help. And OP replies, this actually put it into perspective for me. They have had ample time to look into alternatives, yet don't seem to have taken any initiative to do so. Instead, they're banking on me coming through with what limited time I have for double the workload. Exactly. They have had plenty of time and have not only made no effort to make other arrangements, but are now expecting you to continue through the year at least. And now on to the update. First, I want to thank the users here for giving me perspective. It became clear as I read comments that I was being taken advantage of. And while I feel for my cousin's problems, I am not responsible for and cannot fix them. I have to put myself first, or else I cannot give my best to the child at the center of the issue. Per the advice given, I confronted my cousin directly and tried to talk things out. I told my cousin that if I was going to keep up the arrangement through autumn, I wanted the summer off from babysitting. I also said that we would discuss compensation when he got home from class. Unfortunately, this made things worse. For the rest of the morning, I was dictated to as to what I could feed the kid, what tasks we could do, etc. It was apparent over a series of texts and calls that I was no longer a helper, but the help. A joke about the toddler wanting a certain food got shot down rudely. To be honest, it ended up making me cry because it was so unexpectedly mean when I was just joking. His wife visited for lunch, and I brought up that I wanted a break. She demanded to know why, and then I explained that I was stressed out and I needed time for myself. I was told that I was being unreasonable. She made it clear that I can't be stressed out because I'm a single part-timer compared to her as a full-time worker that still has to come home and be a wife and mother. I realized at that point that my cousin and his wife consider my time somehow less valuable than theirs. I have not been back since. They have cut all contact with me for the time being, though other relatives have made it clear that they think I blew things out of proportion and am in the wrong. This has extended to being left out of family events. I miss the kid that I babysit, and am hurt that she had a recent hospital stay and I was not told. It appears I am only allowed to be a part of her life so long as I kowtow to her parents, despite having taken care of her since she was months old, and often provided for her financially. That aside, there is a silver lining. With my newfound freedom and desire to break the work-store-home cycle, I adopted a rescue dog. Meet Kaladin Stormbark. He's helped me get out of the house and re-engage with the world, and that's done wonders for my mental health after the problems that I had in my last post. That's where it ends for now, and I really just wanted to let those who had offered me help with my first post know how thankful I am for their insight and advice. I'll be the first to admit that I got a weak spine, so it was game-changing to have a bunch of strangers reassure me and give me the desire to stand up for myself. Things might not have worked out this time, but I know ultimately confronting the problem and communicating was for the best. Thanks for the update. It sounds like you're better off in every way. A big win. You should be proud of yourself. Also, very cool dog and name. Sure, it sucks that you're being excluded, but I can't help but thinking that you're just better off without people like this in your life. They sound like parasites, to be honest. Well done. You did the right thing. The reason your relatives are giving you grief is because 1, they're afraid they'll be asked to close the gap that you left when you stopped, either by babysitting directly or be contributing towards childcare costs, and 2, they don't want anyone else in the family who is being bullied to see your example and also stop letting themselves be bullied. Don't ever babysit for them again. They will come back in the autumn and they will say to you, "You've had your summer holidays. We expect you now to come back and work harder and longer." That's what she said. Don't go back. Get a job. Become independent. Never work for your family again. They sound toxic and bullying. And OP replies, "I had discussed with my cousin that I would be willing to continue helping if my workload was cut down to twice a month. Of course, that was before everything went sideways. That's off the table now, but I definitely need to be prepared in case he does pull what you've predicted while calling on my previous offer." You've mentioned in your post that you thought you had a weak spine. When dealing with aggressive friends or relatives in the past, I've always found it helpful to practice my response beforehand and to keep my answers short. That way, you're not drawn into a back-and-forth argument, and your preparation keeps you from getting flustered and agreeing to do something that you didn't want to agree to do. You asked for the smallest amount of respect, and they needed to deny that because they'd have to own that they've exploited you. Don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Good job standing up for yourself, taking care of yourself, and getting a doggo. It's funny how the family that turns on the person who's been taken advantage of never have a solution that involves them giving up some of their free time or driving for hours. I was about to say this. None of those older relatives have any spare time to babysit, huh? Dang, wouldn't you know it? They've got important things to do. Golf or something. Anyway, whatever it is, too busy to watch a kid and literal newborn infant. Am I the asshole for trying to talk my friend out of taking a paternity test? My friend Nick and his wife Jess just had a baby. I'm close friends with both of them. The baby looks just like Nick. There is no question they are related. One of Nick's friends is a bit of a men go their own way type of guy, and he brainwashed Nick into wanting to take a paternity test. Nick asked my advice on how to bring up this topic with Jess. I was shocked. I thought their relationship was good and they trusted each other, and the baby looks just like Nick. I started asking Nick questions as to why he thinks Jess cheated. What did she do that made him suspicious? He admitted that she didn't do anything, but he needs this test to be certain. So I told Nick that it's a bad idea and could really hurt Jess. She had an extremely traumatic birth, the baby was huge, she didn't get an epidural, and everything ripped. I think she might even have postpartum depression. What she needs is support and love, not accusations of cheating. He kept saying that he needs this to be certain, and Jess should be understanding. So I asked him how he would feel if Jess asked for a paternity test for him and Anna's, his female best friend's, baby, who was born last year. He said that he would be really disappointed in Jess, and it would make him rethink their entire relationship, possibly even break them up. But it's different because Jess doesn't have to spend money on and raise Anna's baby, thinking it's hers when it might not be. Nick is now mad at me for not supporting and helping him. He says that I'm a woman, and I could never understand how it is to the father, and I'm not even trying to understand it, which is partially true. But I can say the same thing about him, that he's not even trying to understand how it is to the mother to be baselessly accused of cheating after such a traumatic birth. Am I the asshole? Edit for clarification, Nick didn't have a baby with Anna, the best friend. Anna had a baby with her own boyfriend. I just tried to use that as an example, asking Nick how he would feel if Jess asked for a paternity test on them, just to be sure Nick didn't cheat on her with Anna and fathered Anna's child. It was just an example, hoping to make him see how hurtful accusations like this are. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I tried to talk my friend out of taking a paternity test because I think it's unreasonable and could hurt his relationship with his wife. Look, I don't think you're an asshole for that one. I think you're trying to get him to see reason, and I think he's being unreasonable in this situation. It does seem like he's really taken that red pill of the men go their own way kind of thing. And I'm kind of scared for their relationship. It doesn't seem like it will last if he continues this behavior. Baselessly being accused of cheating after a traumatic birth is not something to be taken lightly. I don't think you're the asshole at all for trying to talk him out of a paternity test. I think you're trying to save their relationship, and it seems as though he's doing everything to sabotage it currently. Not the asshole. When you asked him about the other woman's baby paternity test, he gets the point. Then immediately goes, but this is different. If Nick is moving into this mode of being as a result of this other friend's influence, then that guy must really suck. New Nick is not improved. You were supporting him. You were encouraging him to not make a stupid decision. Yes, being a supportive friend doesn't mean validating every screwed up thing that your friend says and does. What kind of friend would do this? He needs to turn his thoughts to why his friend planted those seeds. Usually jealousy and envy is the answer. Family member did this on the sly. Woman ended the relationship on the spot. Partly for the test, mainly for being stupid, gullible, and naive enough to let someone like that whisper poison in his ears. As she said, she could watch her relationship die a slow death from deliberate, ongoing poisoning, or give it a mercy killing to stop the asshole's head game affecting her life. Nick needs to choose between his family and his incel mate. There is no outcome that doesn't end the relationship if he does the test. If it's not his kid, I'm guessing he would get divorced or he wouldn't take it. If it is his, he will get divorced because his wife will always know that he doesn't trust her and probably feels like he's looking for a reason to leave. Even if she doesn't ask for a divorce right away, this is the sort of thing that turns into resentment and will erode a relationship over time. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for wanting to take my daughter fishing?" For over a decade, myself and my 4 best friends have had an annual fishing trip. There has always been a no wives, no girlfriends rule since the beginning, and no one has ever violated it. 2 years ago, my friend Tim told the group that he wanted to bring his 5-year-old son to sort of pass the tradition on to the next generation. At that point, only Tim and I had kids, but my daughter was 3 and too young for fishing. We all supported Tim's idea, and we made a big deal over the little guy. He had a great time and came last year as well. My other friend, Randy, has a 4-month-old son now. When the baby was born, Tim gave Randy a children's fishing pole to give to his son on his 5th birthday, so it seemed clear to me that the tradition had evolved to us plus our kids, which I'm cool with. I mentioned to my friends the other day that my daughter was excited for this year's fishing trip, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Tim said that I shouldn't bring her, and I was baffled. I was super supportive of him bringing his son. This is no different. My daughter is now the age that Tim's son was when he first came on the trip. Another friend brought up the no wives, no girlfriends rule, which pissed me off. My 5-year-old daughter isn't anyone's wife or girlfriend. I said if they don't want my daughter there, then I don't want Tim's son there. Tim was offended and stormed out. Randy said that what I said was uncalled for, and I said that I'm bringing my daughter, and that is that. I just want to make sure that I'm not being an entitled prick. Am I the asshole? Personally, I'm on your side in this situation. The rule is only no wives, no girlfriends. And while that message has seemingly been taken on by the group as no girls allowed, it doesn't specifically rule out daughters, and I think that you should be allowed to have your daughter there. There's no good reason that she gets left out of this one. Tim being offended and storming out seems really childish to me. And Randy saying what you said was uncalled for was not. Randy was obviously just trying to mediate in the moment, but I don't agree with his sentiment that what you said was uncalled for. I think it was very much called for. Standing up for your kids is a very good thing to do. Thumbs up. I don't think you're the asshole here. I don't think Randy's an asshole, but I definitely think that Tim is an asshole in this situation. Not the asshole. If I were you, I would ditch their trip and take your daughter on a fishing trip one-on-one. Clearly, when they said no wives, no girlfriends, they meant no females. It's really lame that they, as fathers themselves, aren't more understanding and supportive of you wanting to bring your daughter. That type of thinking truly baffles me. I used to fish with my pop, and it was a great bonding experience. Plus, lots of kids love trying and doing things the adults in their lives do. If he had not been open to it because I'm female, we would have missed out on one of the major things that we bonded over. I definitely recommend doing it one-on-one too. It's great quality time, particularly if it avoids the sexist assholes too. All of the men in my family went on a yearly fishing trip when I was younger. I was never allowed to go, and all of these years later, I am still bitter. The kicker is that I know my dad would have let me come. It was the older generation that had an issue with it. One of my uncles only had girls, so he never got to bring a child with at all. At least my dad was able to bring my brother. Man, they'd have hated my grandmother. It's been a running joke in my family since the 60s that she's the only one of us who can catch more than 2 fish. We even had family reunions in the 90s. Grandma and grandpa, 11 kids plus spouses and friends, 75-ish grandkids, where she caught more fish than the rest of the family combined. We'd all be sitting there for hours with empty lines, meanwhile grandma's hit her limit and is tossing them back. This woman was 4'11" and weighed 100 pounds soaking wet, never raised her voice even a little, and managed 11 kids alone while my grandpa was off in Korea, and every man in my family was scared absolutely shitless of her. Man, I miss her. Not the asshole. This is a good hill to make your last stand. You're not an asshole, but you sure hang out with some record-breaking assholes. You are being the opposite of an entitled prick. If you go nuclear on your friends, you'll be a damn legend. Just be aware that if you take her, they will likely treat her as lesser than. They are sexist AF. This kind of thinking just irritates me. So what if she's a girl? That I'm a girl? Girls can enjoy fishing too. There's some guys that don't want nor like to fish and would rather do something else that sexist men find appalling, like baking or sewing. Doing an activity does not have a gender, people. If girls want to fish, let them fish. If guys want to make a dress or bake cupcakes, then let them do that. OP is such an ideal dad, especially to his daughter, not the asshole. And now back up to the post, we have an update. I sent this post to my friends, and we talked some more. They ended up apologizing, and my daughter is definitely coming on the trip. I know many people assumed that my friends are sexist and horrible, but they're really not. They were just worried that with my daughter there, we would have to stay at a hotel instead of the usual cabin and not be able to do as many activities. But I assured them that my daughter can sleep without air conditioning as easily as Tim's son, and they are going to be the ones having trouble keeping up with her 5-year-old energy. Everyone apologized for bringing up the no wives, no girlfriends rule, and agreed that that was a shitty thing to say. It's all good now, and thank you for your support. Miscommunication is a killer, isn't it? Or just not communicating until everyone starts yelling at each other. Love that, but I'm glad that this resolved the way that it did. That is lovely to hear. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for getting a car for my stepson and not my bio kids? I just want to say that I know that I was an awful person back in the day, and that is not what I'm here about. I, 37 male, have a pretty bad past. I got married at 20, had a kid, had another kid, did drugs, drank way too much, and gambled all of our money away, and then I cheated on my wife. She divorced me, got custody, and I barely ever saw the kids. I didn't pay child support, I never visited, I just did drugs. 4 years ago, I got sober. My kids are now 17 male and 16 female. I got a job, graduated from community college, got a good office job, got my own place, and started paying child support, which I'll have to pay for a long time because there are so many years that I didn't cover. I see my kids on the weekends now, and we are slowly establishing a relationship again. I have been dating my fiancé for a little over a year now. We live together, and her son, 16 male, lives with us. For his birthday, we bought him a car. For my son's last birthday, I got him an Xbox, and for my daughter's, a new guitar. When my ex found out about the car, she flipped out and said that if I have extra money, I can buy stuff for my actual children who also want nice things. I told her that I got my kids what they asked for their birthdays, and if they want cars, I will gladly pay 50% of the cost, because I paid for 50% for my stepson, and the other 50% was paid by my fiancé. She called me a selfish asshole and said that I haven't changed at all. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I bought a car with my fiancé for my stepson's birthday, and not for my kids' birthdays. To me, I feel like this is a cut and dry you're the asshole ruling, but you guys were also on me on yesterday's story where someone had lied in this story, and I didn't cover the fact that they lied. Why that's relevant here is because I think OP is lying by omission. There seems to be a little bit of favoritism, and I don't think his actual kids know that that much money is on the table for their birthday presents. So I don't think OP is an asshole because they bought a car for the stepson's birthday and not for their kids. I think they're an asshole for not keeping their biological kids in the loop and showing favoritism as a result of that. Info. Did your bio kids know that cars were on the table? Also, is your ex capable of paying for half of 2 cars? Follow up to this, if your ex is not capable for paying the other half of 2 cars, would the back child support you owe her more than cover the cost of the 50% on the 2 cars? A decade of child support for 2 children that are nearly grown up by now after he gambled away his wife's money. 1 car each doesn't even make a dent in that total amount of debt. You're the asshole. I think she's more mad about you being over a decade behind on child support and being able to splurge on 50% of your stepson's car. Especially when he gambled her money. Is it included in the child support? Or instead of paying her back, he just put it in a new car for a kid that he's known for a year? If OP can pay 50% of 3 cars, which he offered by the way, then he could still pay for 100% of 1 car and still fund 50% of a second car. He has 2 children he's responsible for, but yet his kids didn't get any of that. You're the asshole. If they wanted cars, did you really think that they thought that it would be reasonable for teens who didn't see you for 12 plus years to ask for cars? I'm sure they thought an Xbox and a guitar were a stretch. I knew I pushed my luck, but knew the upper limit. You're the asshole if you gave more than the same amount that you did for the gifts. You're the asshole for being selfish and throwing around your money that you have now. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for giving a coworker a piece of candy to help with nausea? As a quick background, I, 30 female, get really bad car sickness, and when I get migraines, I get nauseous, so I carry these ginger candies that are meant to help with the nauseousness. And yes, they do come from the pregnancy and prenatal area of the store, and it is targeted to pregnant people, but they do help with nausea without taking actual meds that a lot of the time make me tired. So yesterday morning, one of my leads, A, 28 male, at work, was not feeling well and was feeling nauseous, so I gave him one of my candies from my bag. I did tell him that it was a ginger candy that was meant to help with nausea. It had seemed to help him, and a couple of hours later, he asked if I had any more, so I gave him a small handful. Well, I found out this morning that A is upset with me because our supervisor M, 34 male, must have recognized the wrappers to the candies and that his wife used those candies for both of her pregnancies. Now the guys at work are talking about how it was an asshole move to give him pregnancy treatment. They were all natural and had nothing other than natural ingredients to him, and now he is ignoring me. It kind of sounds like a case of Chinese whispers here, where the problem wasn't a problem at all, and by gossiping and things being put through the drama cycle at work, it's turned into one giant kerfuffle. It's to the point that now he is ignoring you. Mr. A, it is not that deep. Supervisor is 34 years old here and he's like, you know what? Pregnancy candies? What are you trying to treat this man for pregnancy? You're literally the devil. You're putting hormones into his body. You're trying to give him estrogen. You're trying to do this, that, and the other. I don't think you're the asshole for this one, OP. I think this is just way blown out of proportion, and I think you did the right thing. You did what any good person should do. Not the asshole. Lamau? It is literally candy. Sounds like a toxic workplace. They give out ginger candies on fishing boats and cruises. I can't wait till they find out that we pregnant ladies/folk eat mints and gum too, and other stuff like grilled steak and man food. Real men eat lawnmowers and Dallas Cowboys. Not that woman stuff. Not the asshole. These guys have fragile egos if they're thinking ginger candy is only for pregnant women. Seriously, I didn't realize all that ginger ale that my mum gave me when I was sick as a kid could have led to unexpected pregnancy. What an idiot. It's a herbal remedy that's been used for thousands of years. Jesus. Do you work with children? You are not the asshole, and maybe can take the chance to educate your ridiculous co-workers that one product can in fact have multiple uses. It's not like you handed him a tampon to stop a bloody nose. However, they work. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for cancelling plans with my friend after finding out he put a tracker on my phone? I, 21 female, and my friend, 21 male, are home from college. We went to different high schools, but we were friends through clubs and extracurricular. We had a friend group in senior year that we both hung out in. The friend group died off, but we have stayed somewhat in touch and see each other a few times each summer for lunch to catch up. Anyways, we were on the phone about 2 weeks ago and made plans to chill, grab pizza, and listen to music. We were Snapchatting old friends, and he snapped some of them back through my phone. I don't think much of handing my phone to him to reply. I mean, I've been friends with this guy for a while now, and we've hung out, so we're like decently close, I guess. The other day, he texted me joking about how I need a better sleep schedule since I was up till 4 a.m. I laughed it off and said, yeah, I was up till 6 a.m. studying. I asked how he knew, and he just laughed it off and made a joke. I didn't think much of it because I know Instagram and Snap sometimes shows when you were last active on the app. Anyways, today, he texted me joking that I need to charge my phone. I was at 2% and was weirded out by how he knew that. Again, he just laughed it off and made a joke. I was like, WTF? Did you share my location or find my phone? He said no and said he'd explain tonight, as we had plans to grab food. I was kinda weirded out, but he kept joking. I check my iPhone and locations and nothing is shared. I then realized that on Snap, he had ghost mode disabled and shared my location with himself. When I asked him about it, he denied it and didn't admit it until I sent a screenshot. I expressed how weird that was, but he was joking through it and saying, see you later. I've been ignoring his calls and texts since, and he's spamming apologies. I was talking to one of my friends, 21 female, our mutual friend, and she was weirded out at first, but just laughed it off. She said it's weird, but he was clearly just messing around, and I'm being a major asshole for blowing it up when it was totally harmless, and that I was being an asshole for ignoring his calls and apology texts because he clearly didn't mean it since he's panicking that I'm mad. I'm not necessarily mad, just totally weirded out, and feel like my privacy has been invaded for the past 2 weeks. I don't know how to feel. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. Yelling at my friend for putting a tracker on my phone, and 2. Because he's a friend and I over-exaggerated the situation and I should know that it was just a joke. Haha, one of those hilarious little jokes where I put a tracker in your phone and then I continue to keep you updated. But that doesn't actually explain the part where he knows that your phone is on 2%. I'm pretty sure Snapchat doesn't show that information. Haha, another devious prank by me. As a prank, I installed multiple tracking apps on my friend's phone so I can know what they're up to every hour of the day and know what they're doing on their phone. Haha, normal, well-adjusted behavior. I'm gonna say you're definitely not the asshole for this one, OP. Your friend laughing it off, saying it's weird, he's clearly just messing around, and now you're being a major asshole for blowing it up when it's totally harmless, alright? What kind of reaction from a person is that? Who reacts like that to this information? What does she know that we don't know? I'm gonna say you're not the asshole for this one, but I would watch your back around this man and around that friend. Not the asshole. I'd feel completely creeped out and stalked. Joke my ample cheeks. I hope your phone notifies you when he decides to hide an AirTag in your car. And OP replies, I literally made a joke about being AirTagged, and he texted me back saying, Lamau, imagine. I literally said that I wouldn't put it past you. Like, even if I forgave, I don't think I could ever feel comfortable again. He gives me the creeps, and I'm just a stranger on the internet. Not only that, but the fact that he knew that your phone was dying leads me to believe that he possibly signed you up for Life 360. My sister and my nieces have it, and asked me to get it when I lived out of state and later the country. But even then it was a bit too invasive for me to comfortably let my family have access to such information like my speed, phone battery percentage, and so on. It makes total sense for a family, parents and guardians and children, to have it, but no thanks otherwise. I'm unaware if social media apps are able to show you when your phone is almost dead. My guess would be on Snapchat, but even then I would search your phone for the Life 360 app. This guy is weird. Everything about this is weird. And I'd assume he will twist it to being protective of some sorts, which is complete horseshit. This is weird, I feel like he has a different idea of your friendship together, and this is a major red flag. You should also look into your location sharing settings. No, not the asshole. Stalking is never something that you should blow off, and it is not harmless. You need better friends. Right? This is a huge red flag. Now he's trying to get out of it by being funny and charming. That's how creeps get away with their sexual quote-unquote behavior. And OP replies, you're right. I have been ignoring all calls and texts. In the beginning, I figured that he wants to apologize, and I felt bad for ignoring someone trying to reconcile and apologize. But it's been nearly 2 hours, and all he has texted me was, I'm sorry, please don't gate me. You're making me nervous. Hello? A picture of his dog, and I'll pay for lunch. I would have at least expected some long-ass text apologizing and saying how he regrets his actions and how it wasn't a funny joke. Wouldn't you know it, there's an update, but the story isn't finished and it's not going to be finished in this post, unfortunately. Update. First off, thank you to everyone for the support and advice. I really didn't expect this to get as big as it did. I had checked through my phone and my settings last night, and nothing else was out of the ordinary. This morning I had a virtual meeting with Apple, and they virtually went through my phone and ran diagnostics on it. Everything came up clean. They had me go to an in-store appointment and still didn't find any malware or mirroring apps or anything like that. They said that since I was around him when he had my phone and he never left the room with it, the chances of him downloading something super advanced would be slim since he would have had to hook it up to a physical computer. So it was only the Snapchat thing, which would also make sense based on his comments, as a few people mentioned, when your location is shared on Snap, the person it's shared with can see when you were last active on the app, and if your battery is under 10%, it shows your Bitmoji on maps holding a charger or something like that. Regarding the guy himself, he hasn't contacted me today. I had mentioned this in a few posts, but I'll add it here too. When I originally caught what he did, he initially said, I'm sorry, please don't hate me, you're making me nervous, followed by pleases and some calls, all ignored. Around the time that we were supposed to meet up, he called me a few more times and texted me, "Hello," a picture of his dog, and "I'll pay for lunch." Again, I ignored. I still sort of expected something, like a long text considering that he admitted to doing something wrong, i.e. the initial panic and apology. But no. Even if not an apology text, a chance to let him clear the situation, an explanation for his actions, him saying it's a prank, anything. Not even today. A part of me wonders if he is scared to text because he doesn't want to further incriminate himself, hence the calling versus texting, but frankly, I don't care. Regardless of what he has to say or any reasoning, I can't imagine being in contact with him again after this. Some people brought up the point of how a lot of people have their location public and shared to everyone, but I am not one of them. And for me, it's a bit deeper than that. It's more so the principle behind his actions. He had an intrusive thought to disable my privacy settings and acted upon those thoughts. Who knows what other intrusive thoughts that he may act upon in the future and what other boundaries he may cross in the process for the sake of a joke. He proceeding to share my location with himself without my knowledge or consent and to keep it going for 2 weeks, but who knows how long he would have kept it for. I, 33 male, saw videos of my fiancée, 29 female, cheating during her bachelorette party. I can't believe I'm involved in a story like this. I haven't actually talked to anyone about what happened, even though a lot of people are trying. I think I just need to vent a little bit before I talk to anyone. My girlfriend and I were together for 4 years, and we were engaged to be married. Last weekend, she had her bachelorette party, and I didn't have a problem with it, especially after what she told me was the plan. Her and some friends were going to rent an Airbnb or something, a big place with like 4 bedrooms, and they were just going to get trashed and party and hang out. On the day of the party, she was at my place, a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 room that I use as a home office. I am a self-employed investor. She makes all of the arrangements and goes to meet her friends. We texted a little bit, but as the party warmed up, we stopped, and I figured they were just having fun. After midnight, I start getting ready for bed, and notice that the computer in my office isn't turned off. Rather, the black screen was just a screensaver. It turns out my fiancée had not logged out, and her messenger was still open on the computer. There was a group chat where her and the girls had been planning everything, and a lot of videos were uploaded to the chat. I was a little curious and I started watching some of the videos. Most of them were pretty innocent, just a group of 15 girls getting drunk and stoned and dancing and whatever. Then there was a video of a woman going to the front door and about 10 guys enter the apartment. I don't know who they were and I didn't recognize anyone. There was a couple videos of the guys and girls dancing and drinking, and then the worst happened. A video started of my fiancée making out with a guy on the sofa. She stops and rolls over and starts making out with a second guy. And then there was the video of her and the 2 guys going into a bedroom. There was also a video of them coming out that according to the timestamps was 5 minutes later, but that doesn't mean anything. For all I know, the videos were an hour apart and they were all just uploaded at the same time. Seeing all this was like a sledgehammer to the gut. I walked into the bathroom because I thought that I would be sick. I wasn't, but I feel like I paced back and forth in the apartment for about 30 minutes, and that I poured myself a rock glass full of whiskey and I chugged it down. I saved the videos and then made one of my own, just a short little selfie video of me saying, "Hi, this is my name, your ex-fiancé. Just wanted to say that I saw the videos from the party and the wedding is off. I hope it was worth it." I'm glad that I saved the videos because in less than 10 minutes, they were all deleted, and my phone started blowing up, but I didn't answer any of the calls or texts. At first, it was just my girlfriend texting saying she can explain, and it's not what it looked like. And then her friends joined in, but I ignored everyone and I didn't respond. Then suddenly, I got a request for a video chat, and I'll admit my curiosity got the best of me. I answered the call, but I didn't say anything. It was my fiancée sitting in front of the camera, and she looked like she had been crying, and the other friends were just around her. I really only know maybe 4 of the friends, but I recognize a lot of the others. First, she started apologizing, but kept saying that it wasn't what it looked like. It was just a party, and the guys coming over was not planned or anything like that. She said that it might have looked bad, but nothing happened. When I didn't say anything, she just kept going on with more of the same, and her friends backed her up. The more I didn't speak, the more hysterical she got. Eventually, she admitted to kissing the two guys, but dumped the blame on her friends, who all took responsibility for that, which surprised me a little. She said the kisses didn't mean anything, and that's all that happened. Then she seemed to remember the video of her going into the bedroom, and she started screaming that it was just a joke and nothing happened. All the other women confirmed that it was just a joke, and that my fiancé had walked into the room and then turned around and walked out again. This just kept going on, and they just kept repeating themselves. Eventually, everyone got quiet, and all I said was, "Is there anything else to add?" She said no, and I just ended the video call. I went onto social media and changed my relationship status to single, and posted that the wedding was off, and if anyone had bought a present, they should feel free to return it. Fiancé saw the post and is freaking out even more, and just keeps insisting that all she did was kiss and nothing else. I sent her a text saying that if I suspect that her or any of her friends lie about what happened, or try to make me the bad guy, then I will post all of the videos online. Right now, no one else knows what is happening. This was a couple of days ago, and everything for the wedding is cancelled, and my fiancé just keeps pursuing me. Any advice on what I should do from here? I mean, personally, no advice really for what you should keep doing from here. More so, I hope things work out in the end for this one. But like, if I saw my fiancé kissing two dudes at a bachelorette party, I don't know how I'd react. I think that'd be pretty damning. I think that I would do the same as you. You made the right call. Her friends are on her side, right or wrong. You will never get the full truth. No reason to put yourself through any more pain and drama. Plus, for some people, seeing your fiancé kissing two guys would be enough to call off the wedding. It would at least get a postponement from me, and probably more depending on the circumstances. I never understood the reason for sexual bachelor and bachelorette parties. If you still want to screw around so much, why are you getting married? I think you made the right choice. I personally think she doesn't deserve a second chance because she's not taking accountability. She's blaming her friends for her actions. No one held a gun to her head and made her cheat. No advice, man, but you've done the right thing. Kissing is cheating, and the trust is gone. So why would you believe nothing more happened? Sorry, man. I hope you look after yourself. If you want to verify if more did or did not happen, demand the original videos of her entering and leaving the bedroom. The timestamps should tell you. If she refuses or makes excuses of why they can't provide the footage, this also gives you your answer. And OP replies, "I hadn't thought of that, thanks for the tip." Isn't the kissing enough to end it? Even if she didn't get double-teamed, but she did, wouldn't making out with two dudes at a party be enough to end it? She didn't even admit to it at first, and only admitted to it because it was actually on video. You already know what wasn't on video though, and besides all this, her poor decisions broke your trust in her. Do not marry someone that you do not trust. And OP replies, "I thought it might be good for my own peace of mind, just so that I'm not always wondering." From someone who's been there, it won't matter. They start off by lying to you, and slowly more truth comes out, all while their friends lie for them. She's not even taking responsibility. She's letting her friends take the blame. Right before the wedding, she decided to bring men to a party for her and her friends to screw. You will always see her kissing those two guys. She wasn't thinking of you or that engagement ring on her finger then. If she could do that so easily with two men, she didn't even know when things get tough. You really think she won't do it again with a friend that she cares about? And now onto the update. The update is pretty simple. Everything has been called off and cancelled. The wedding is officially not happening. I got the ring back and all of her stuff is moved out. She is staying with her parents for now. We did talk a little bit, and it was mostly just her begging and apologizing and crying. She keeps insisting that all she did was kiss the guys, and she has never done anything like this before, and she promises it will never happen again. Part of me really wanted to believe her, but the problem is that this incident puts our entire relationship in doubt. I think she may be telling the truth, but again, the point is there is no way to know. If it is true that her friends pressured her to do it, then how can I believe that they never did it before? We kept going around in circles because ultimately, there is just no way that I can be sure. She said she would do anything, including cutting off her friends and only ever drink around me. She really blasted her friends online, saying that if the party had stuck to the original plan, she would still be getting married, so maybe she's already cut them off. All I can say is that at the moment, I am single and I'm just going to live my life. Probably take some time to myself after getting out of a 4-year relationship. What's crazy is that a couple of friends are also texting me just to talk. I haven't responded yet because, well, it's hard to trust them to. Thanks again to everyone who expressed sympathy, and I hope none of you here need to deal with anything like this in the future. She keeps trying to feed you lies to get you to come back, and when that doesn't work, she's throwing everyone else under the bus so she doesn't have to just admit what she did was wrong. It won't happen again. I was pressured. It's because we didn't stick to the original plan. It's not what it looks like. It's not that bad. All we did was kiss. You absolutely cannot trust her to tell you the truth because she's not even being honest with you. There is no excuse. She just did a really shitty thing that she didn't need to do. It's not like she did it with one guy too. She did it with 2. You were also right that if all it takes is her friends to pressure her, how do you even know that this is the first time or even would have been the last time? That's not a good excuse. Also, she still could have very easily said no and left, or just not made out with both men. You both should continue to ignore her friends. They don't have your best interest at heart. They are probably just going to tell you that it was a mistake, except it's not. The narc's prayer fits well here. That didn't happen, and if it did, it wasn't that bad, and if it was, that's not a big deal, and if it is, that's not my fault. Currently, you are here. And if it was, I didn't mean it, and if I did, you deserved it. You did the right thing. Even if the friends did pressure the fiancé into having guys there, and I feel that's a big if, at the end of the day, she is still an adult and responsible for her own choices. I totally understand why OP can't trust her anymore. People who can't own their own F-ups and blame everyone around them instead are the worst. Our next post is titled, I'm not resigning, fire me cow. Okay, where to start? I began my position in January 2020. Weird interview process, my boss is strange, but whatever. If she leaves me alone, I can do my job. Horrible training. I taught myself almost everything. COVID happened, sent home to work remotely, no reason we couldn't have been at home anyways. I worked from home 2.5 months after starting the role and quickly became the top performer on the team. I have the largest account in the company and was given more vendors as well because I could handle them. Fast forward to 2021, they've been saying that we'd be back in the office in no time for over a year. Despite management downplaying it and even suggesting that it was a hoax, president of the company wasn't an idiot. We didn't need to be there, and we all worked better from home, as they even told us countless times. Told you weren't hired to work from home. But none of us were thrilled about going in to help justify middle management's necessity or their newly renovated empty office space. Mid-2021, husband and I decide to start trying to get pregnant right away. My boss suggests that we all go in soon because COVID is practically gone. Pregnancy goes by, continuing working from home. They keep saying that'll change. Finally, they say that you have to come in 2 days a week. I'm 38 weeks pregnant at that point. Nope. Got a doctor's note, they were pissed, but can't argue with it. They finally found a temp replacement when I was already 37 weeks pregnant and made me train her. Last minute as hell. Sure. Then she quit. Found another, and I had 3 days to train this woman in a job that takes people months to learn. Whatever. Have baby, enjoy leave, blah blah blah. Monday comes that I'm supposed to start back. Come back to over 900 emails, no word from boss for hours on the first day. I find out that my temp replacement quit after a week because she couldn't handle the workload, handling baby and laptop like a champ, whatever it takes. Boss finally calls me, says hello. She mentions how the team is falling apart, as most of the team is older and not in good health, and how we weren't approved for an additional hire that we desperately need. Okay, no mention of coming in. Got an email later asking which 2 days I'm coming in. I replied, I'm not comfortable, willing, or able to physically come into the office. Next morning, my boss's boss calls me and doesn't say hello, welcome back, nothing. She says, "It is company policy to come into the office 2 days a week. If you do not come in, we will consider it your resignation." I froze and didn't know what to say. Husband and I agreed, let them fire you. You're not quitting. She goes on that she can't make an exception, it's above her. We were told before that it wasn't. It's up to each department. She says that I need to find childcare. I can't do both. They will give me until Tuesday next week to figure it out or resign. It's Monday night. I just sent an email shitting on them and how they've handled everything. My pregnancy, my return, the pandemic, being short-staffed. Said I'm surprised they'd even consider losing me with my workload and recent turnover in mind. I am not resigning. I'll continue to work at home until they say otherwise and my access is revoked. It could go either way, and I don't care either way. I love how they say, "We will consider it your resignation." No, it's not. Unless I tell you I quit, then you are firing me. You cannot force someone to resign. You either fire them, or they continue working and you continue paying. And OP replies, "Right?" It threw me off so much. On the rest of the call, I was mostly quiet and I let her talk. She wasn't making any sense. They are beyond stupid, and the one positive you'll have from losing this job, if it goes that route, is you'll get to laugh at the idiots while their idiot ship sinks. With your skill set, you'll bounce back and find some other, probably better job, or don't and spend more time with your newborn, if you can. Either way, you got this crap. And OP says, "Aw, thanks. That made me smile. Exactly my thought too. Probably gonna enjoy my little boy for a while. Can't wait." If they can't even get a temp replacement to stay, how are they going to find a permanent replacement? They can't do anything without hurting themselves. And now on to the update. So as you may know from my last post, I just came back from maternity leave last week, and I was told to come into the office for 2 days a week. I said no, I can and will work from home. My boss's boss called the next morning and said, "Come in or they will accept my registration." They gave me a week to figure it out. There is no need to be in the office for my role, except to justify middle management's existence and our newly renovated building. I sent an email Monday night to my boss and her boss saying I am not coming in 2 days a week per policy. I was professional, but honest and brutal. Literally started the email saying I don't believe the feelings of my return were reciprocated. Noted how my role was completely ignored during my 3 months maternity leave, over 800 emails, 800 items in my queue, my temp replacement quit, management not debriefing me upon my return, etc. I mentioned how many branches and vendors were relieved that I was back, and thought that it was crazy they'd consider losing a valuable team member. Going into the office is completely unnecessary for my position, and I won't do it. I am not willing, comfortable, or able to do it. I'm not trying to get unemployment. I'm not trying to sue for discrimination of a new mum or something like that. I'm assuming that if I get fired versus quitting, I won't be forced to pay anything back from my leave. Sure, maybe I'm being a little petty too, but screw it. I can't and I won't go in. I may as well try to figure it out or quit and lose my job anyways. I have a new baby to care for. Well, a lot of people were waiting for an update. Trust me, I was too. I fully expected to log on the next day to a notice saying I'm fired. That wasn't the case. Radio silence, nothing at all. They just left me alone to work. The one time I didn't expect them to. Didn't get much done if I'm being honest. While I was waiting, I found out a new coworker on another team was told that she could remain working from home. I was livid. Happy for her, but pissed. She lives super far from the office, and with gas prices, it is unmanageable to come in. She ended up calling me on Tuesday and said that her boss emailed her with my boss's boss CC'd and is forcing her to come in now as well. They literally just finished setting her up at home permanently on Friday, and now they're saying, never mind. They want consistency. She was so upset. I never intended for this to happen. She didn't blame me at all though, decided to fight back as well. I had no clue what they're trying to do. There have been a few other exceptions of people not being forced in. Again, we were told that it was up to each department originally, but who knows at this point? Maybe they're trying to force out any expectations, so if they fire me, I can't claim I'm being singled out and sue or something. I'm not sure. Also, I was curious and looked on Indeed as suggested. Tons of jobs out there that I could totally do, by the way. Some even paying more while remaining remote. That is, if I decide not to care for my newborn for a bit longer. 3 months isn't enough. And guess what I found? My job. Posted right there. Pay and all. The higher end was more than I make. Want to know the date? Effing Monday. So my first day back to work after maternity leave, and they posted my position online as available and urgently hiring. Not sure if it was before or after I originally told my boss no, but I sent my first email after hours, so I bet it was before. Also, they never used Indeed for open positions. That crap costs money. Oof. I was pissed. I told my coworkers and mentioned the pay so they can make sure they make at least that much. Heard from a coworker that someone is interviewing with them this week. I ended up calling off the next day. Wednesday, yesterday, because screw it. I have sick time. Well, got another update for ya. My boss's boss emailed me this morning. Said, "Morning, I have not replied sooner because I was having conversations with senior leadership and HR. We are looking to change the work from home policy to 1 day a week in the office. Leadership is adamant that 1 day a week in the office is essential for communication, training, developing relationships, etc., while allowing a generous work-life balance. Additionally, after talking to recruiters, 1 day a week is very generous, considering 95% of companies have moved to 3 to 4 days in the office. You need to understand that if you decide not to come in 1 day a week, we will accept your resignation." Thoughts, everyone? Not sure why she thinks I'm gonna fold. It's wild they won't just fire me. I'm not quitting. It's the principle of the matter. I'm gone too far now to back down. Blah blah blah. We're stuck in the past and too stubborn to change, even if this department collapses without you. Seriously, what is their plan? How will they get your replacement up to speed? How are vendors still willing to do business with this company if nothing has been done for 3 months? Craziness. This squeaky wheel gets the grease. Basically, they escalate to someone else at the company and they stumble around to put the fire out. Rinse, repeat for the entire maternity leave. Translation, they interviewed but couldn't find anyone for the pay they were actually offering, well below the high end mentioned in the ad, and who were willing to come into the office at all for a job that clearly didn't require it. So they're coming back to you, having made a concession of 1 day a week, imagining they can get you to accept their generous offer. I have not offered, nor will I offer, my resignation. You can't accept something that was never offered. I am more than able to work remotely. I will continue to do so until such time as you determine firing me and losing a valuable employee is the better option. I will continue working. This topic isn't open for negotiation. If you choose to terminate my employment over this issue, you can let me know. And make sure that you are BCCing all these emails to a personal email address that they can't access, so they can't erase all the evidence if they let you go. And now to the second update. Morning Reddit. I type this with a weight lifted from my shoulders and my baby boy sleeping in my arms. My fight is over. Well, I gave it all some serious thoughts over the weekend on what to do. Can't back down now, right? If I said okay, what was the point of my fuss? Screw it. My husband supports me and is also living vicariously through this. I replied this morning to my boss's boss last email with something almost word for word that a comment said. Thanks guys, I swear I read almost every single one. Emails below. Me. Morning, I apologize for the delay. I hope you understand that I have not offered, nor will I offer, my resignation. You cannot accept something that was never offered. I am more than able to work remotely as I have been. I will continue to do so until such a time as you determine firing me and losing a valuable employee is the better option. You, of course, have the right to terminate our relationship and my employment, but to be clear, this is not in any way voluntary on my part. About an hour later, I got a call from my boss's boss and HR. Not answering that crap. I want my paper trail. They constantly say stupid things over the phone, and my mind goes blank. I know my limits. She called 3 times. I messaged them saying I'd prefer to keep this over email due to the sensitive nature of our conversations. She replied, "You have to answer the call." I ignored another call. I said, "If you're going to fire me, I'd prefer you just say so." 20 minutes go by. Boss's boss says, "Your refusal to return to work 1 day a week and answer my calls today has brought us to the point where we will accept your resignation. We will pay you through the end of the day today, but any unused vacation is forfeited. Your benefits terminate at midnight tonight. Contact HR regarding any questions about your health insurance and/or other benefits." I reply, "While we can agree to disagree about the need to be in the office, I think it would have been crazy to answer your call this morning considering previous conversations over the phone in the past. Thank you for keeping this over email. You continue to use that word, resignation. I don't think you understand what that means. It was a pleasure. Good effing luck." My access was cut. Don't worry, I have copies of all of it. All of my coworkers texted me saying there was a meeting immediately after with the entire department. They were told that none of them are being replaced. I resigned. Management posted my job last Tuesday, which was a lie, because I said that day I was not coming back. They already got 63 resumes and brought 7 people in for the interviews so far. Another lie. She doesn't think that it will be hard to fill the spot? Sure, but turnover. But she wanted them to know that none of their jobs are in jeopardy and that I decided not to come back. Wow. My coworkers are all pissed off. Some are looking elsewhere for employment, some are asking for raises, and others are just quietly doing the bare minimum. Oh yeah, and I still had over 200 emails that needed my attention and over 1,000 items in my queue. Sure, they'll find someone. So there is the end of my saga. Thanks for all the support. I will be enjoying my time off with my smiley baby and maybe slowly start applying or seeing what unemployment says, because why the hell not, right? We'll be okay for a while. It's not why I did this. I was trying to fight for what I believed in, well aware of the consequences. Lucky as hell to be in the position I am. Husband is so supportive. He brought our little man over to me after I closed my laptop for the last time, bouncing, singing, "Mama's got a baby, Mama's with her baby." Ugh, my heart. Some of you suggested that I reach out to an employment lawyer. I think I will. Not sure I have anything, but it doesn't look good on them either way. And again, I know my limits. I don't know law. File for unemployment, and when you're denied because your former employer lies about you resigning, challenge it. I did this exact thing because my employer said I resigned when I was laid off, and I simply asked that my former employer supply a copy of my resignation letter. Unemployment approved. The arbitrator turned off the recording and suggested I contact a labor lawyer because the whole thing was shady. Enjoy as much time with your baby as you can. I wonder how many companies try to find even the smallest level of misconduct to use in a response to the unemployment department. That's incredibly smart though to ask for a copy of a resignation letter. 1 day a week in the office is essential for communication, and yet here we are, 2 years later, and doing just fine. It is such a joke. I'm mandated to come in 1 day a week, and I work a weird schedule, so I go into the office on the weekends to not a single soul being there, and then make jokes to all my coworkers about how much collaboration I'm doing in this empty office in the dark because the lights turn off every 20 minutes because it's the weekend. My husband told me he was out with his little sister, but he doesn't have one. I've been married to my husband for a long time. We have kids, a house, and pets together. We have an active sex life. We go on dates often and share a lot of the same hobbies. Today, he's at a pool party with our oldest son. I took our youngest to the water park in town where I ran into one of the other mums that I know. We started talking, and she mentioned at one point that it had been so nice to meet my husband's younger sister last week, and asked if she was my sister or his. I replied that neither one of us has a sister, and asked her what the woman looked like. She said she was young and petite with dark hair. I only have a much younger brother with red hair, and he has a brother who is over 6 foot, so neither one of us have a sibling who could be confused for a sister. He doesn't have any cousins, and I do, but he's not close with any of them. I'm freaking out because obviously the first thing my mind goes to is that he is cheating. I remember him going to the park last week, and he never made any mention of meeting up with anyone or hanging out with anyone there. My youngest son isn't old enough to tell me. I can't get through to him because his phone isn't on him since they're in the pool. So now I'm just here freaking out because my mind is going wild. Where did the woman say she saw your husband and little sister? How does your youngest son and your husband's trip to the park fit into this story? If you trust this woman, I think she was kindly telling you that she saw your husband out with a younger woman, and she didn't believe the little sister story either. And OP replies, at the park, when my husband took our youngest to there. Okay, this woman, who knows your husband well enough not to mistake him for someone else, saw 3 people. Your husband, your young son, and a woman he introduced as his little sister together at the park, correct? The woman said she saw your son with them. I'm harping on this because it is so awful to think he could be using his own young child to make it seem like him meeting a strange woman was an innocent encounter. The woman was complicit in the little sister story, which seems like a very bad indication that this was an illicit encounter. Is it a common occurrence that your husband takes your young son to the park? I think you should let him relax and feel comfortable, and then calmly say, I ran into Jane Brown at the water park today. You know, Bobby Brown's mother? She told me she saw you and youngest son at the park last week, and there was a young woman with you who you introduced as your little sister. And then watch his response carefully. Do not say anything more. This woman was trying to help you out while being low-key. She saw something was up 100%. She made sure to mention something to you so you could go investigate. I'm guessing you're more acquaintances than friends, so she probably didn't feel comfortable coming right out and saying it, so she told you in a roundabout way. This covers her bases. She isn't intruding, she is letting you know what she saw, but leaving room in case you guys are swingers or something. After you figure out what's going on, you should bring her a bottle of wine. And now on to the update. When he got home from being out with our son, I simply said, Trish said she ran into you at the park. She said you were with someone you introduced as your sister. Who was it? I knew something was up because he was just silent and he didn't say anything. Then he just said, okay, we need to talk. Do you want to do this now or later? Obviously I said now, so he told the boys to go play downstairs. He admitted he had been planning on leaving me for a while, but he had wanted to wait for the right time to do it. He said he had met someone else he had feelings for. He had met her last year and things happened slowly. He said he never cheated on me physically, but there were a lot of times that he told me he was doing work when he was really texting her or going into his office to FaceTime her, and they would sometimes meet up. I asked him why he felt okay bringing our son around this person, and he said that it was because our son already knew her, which is when I found out that his little sister and person he's leaving me for is our son's daycare teacher. My husband is the one who drops off every morning, so I guess that's how they met. I should have guessed something was up when he began volunteering to go pick him up as well. He seemed apologetic and kept repeating that he never did anything physical and that he wanted to remain civil for the kids. I still haven't fully processed any of this. He's living in the basement apartment until we get things figured out. I never understand in these situations how someone in a committed relationship can just say, hey, I met another person and we get along, so bye. As a teacher, there is ethical boundaries that we are not allowed to cross. Having an affair with our students' parents is one. Report her now. She should not be in a position of power over your child. If he wanted to remain civil for the kids, starting an emotional affair was surely not the way to go. Well, I promise we at least never had sex. As if he's not already put a bomb between you two. OP, definitely take all the time you need to process this and revisit the situation to talk when you are calm. It's really silly of him to try to say that he wanted to be civil while he was actively cheating on you, going on dates and talking to her. It's really weird for him to still say that he wants to be civil. I'm so sorry, OP. Translation for wanting to keep it civil, he doesn't want you to torpedo her job, which she put in jeopardy by having an affair with a married client. That's on them, not you. Also, he's lying about not getting physical. You don't kill your marriage if it hasn't. Again, so sorry. You need to report this woman to the daycare center immediately. She should not be working with families if she lacks the professionalism to not begin an affair with a student's father. How much younger does she have to be so that he could introduce her as his little sister? Yuck. He's living in a fantasy. Leave him be. You deserve more. Divorce him and live your life with your kids. And OP replies, she is 13 years younger than him. A handful of states have alienation of affection laws. If you happen to live in one, this would be a shoo-in to win. How can she possibly argue that she didn't know he was married? Now, she wouldn't have much, but if you're careful, you can use it as leverage against him. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for not giving my adopted daughter a stuffed animal for her high school graduation when both of my biological children got one? I, 49 female, have 3 children, 22 female, 19 male, and 18 female. My oldest are my biological children from a previous marriage, and my youngest I became a mother to at the age of 2 when I married her widowed father. She has only ever called me Mum, and I officially adopted her at the age of 12. Now on to the issue with the stuffed animals. Years and years ago, when I was only 20 and in college, I worked at a children's museum. I adored the job and working with kids, and had the idea to buy stuffed animals from the gift shop to be my future kids' first stuffed animals when they were born. I had gotten a stuffed bear at birth that was very special to me growing up, and on my 18th birthday my parents gifted me a duplicate that they had bought way back when and kept for me all these years. I found this so special, and I wanted to do something similar, so I bought 6 stuffed animals from the museum's gift shop. 3 to be given at birth, and 3 duplicates. I had no idea at the time how many kids I would have, but I knew that I wasn't planning on having more than 3, so I didn't get any more. My first daughter received the stuffed animal that I selected for her while pregnant, and then between her birth and the birth of my son, I miscarried. The experience was deeply traumatic for me, especially as I miscarried in my 2nd trimester, and I buried my baby with the stuffed animal they would have gotten. I kept the duplicate for comfort, to cuddle and hold. Finally, my son was born and received the last of the stuffed animals that I had set aside so many years ago. Now here is where I may be the asshole. For both my daughter and son's high school graduations, I surprised them with the duplicates, for them to take to college with them and compare against the stuffies they've been loving on their whole lives. Both of them were very moved by this, and took both, the original and duplicate, to school with them. My youngest, however, never received a stuffed animal, and so when her graduation celebration rolled along, I had no duplicate to gift her. I watched her unpack all her gifts, and her face fall when she got to the last one, and realized. She didn't really say anything, just got this super sad look on her face, and excused herself to her room. I followed to ask what was wrong, but she said she didn't want to talk to me, so her father went in instead. According to him, she cried to him that she didn't feel as loved by me as her siblings, and as much a part of the family. The unwrapping of her siblings' stuffed animals were very emotional events, and she had had the expectation that she'd be getting the same. In hindsight, I could have easily done something similar for her whenever I first came into her life, even if it wouldn't have been from the museum, but I just didn't think of it. She has been cold to me this entire last week, and I feel so terrible. I've offered to take her out for a special dinner for the 2 of us to make amends, but she turned me down. Am I the asshole? While I can see an argument as to you not realizing that she would want an animal as well, I feel like you'd realize that maybe it would be the right thing to do, seeing as she'd compare herself to the 2 biological children the whole time you were raising her, and then she compares herself even more so when those 2 biological children get really special presents with deep emotional meaning to them, and she doesn't get the same. I feel like you'd need to lack a lot of awareness to not realize that it would hurt her not to have something similar at her graduation. So by ignorance or lack of self-awareness, I'm going to say that you're the asshole for this one. You're the asshole. Your kids grew up together, and for years, you never once thought to go and buy 2 stuffed animals for your adoptive daughter? Right? In 16 years, and after giving 2 other bears away, she didn't think once, hey, what about my youngest? Right? She liked the daughter's dad enough to marry him, but didn't think that it would be a good idea to give the 2-year-old a stuffy at the wedding? You're the asshole. You could have bought her a stuffed animal from the store, but instead, you left her out and made her feel like she's not a part of the family. There isn't a stuffed animal shortage. You're the asshole. It's been a week and you still didn't just buy her a damn stuffed animal? Nothing quite says, "You're not like my other kids," like leaving her out of a family tradition when her turn came. I'm sorry about the loss of your baby and understand why you kept that stuffed animal for your own. However, the tradition could have started with her when she joined your family at age 2 or when you formally adopted her. And now onto the update. Long story short, my daughter found my Reddit post and came to me in tears apologizing for her reaction. This was not my expectation, and I assured her she had nothing to apologize for, as I had been in the wrong. We had a long discussion about the situation, our feelings, and how to move forward from this, and although I know that she is still hurt, we are on our way to making amends. Long story short. So what even happened? As I've now discovered, my daughter loves browsing Am I the Arsehole. She stumbled on my post, and after reading it in its entirety, as well as a good chunk of the comments, all of mine and many left by other Redditors, she came to me in tears, apologizing for her reaction. She sobbed in my arms that she didn't want this to be the end of our relationship, and that she was sorry and wanted to enjoy this last summer together. I held her and assured her she had nothing to apologize for, and apologized myself. I did shed a little tear, but tried to keep my emotions in check, as I didn't want the burden of comforting me to be on her. What followed was a productive, but incredibly emotionally vulnerable conversation, the details of which I will not disclose entirely. She has been going through a rough time, and my impression, I could be wrong, is that a lack of a stuffy at graduation was a catalyst for bigger emotions. She did take me up on my offer to take her to dinner, and I've now booked a reservation at a nice restaurant that she's been wanting to go to for a while, and last night we cooked her favorite dinner together, which gave us an opportunity to smooth things over somewhat. We've not yet broached the subject of me intending to gift her my own plush, except for very briefly. She insisted that I didn't have to, and seemed to feel a lot of guilt. But I still plan to. I just feel that it would be best to wait until things have cooled down, and if she truly doesn't feel comfortable taking it, I plan on getting a bear of a similar look to be its little brother, for her to take care of. That's the update. Obviously things have not magically mended overnight, but we are finally on track to a resolution. Many thanks to all that left advice, and please check the comments below for clarification on any of my questions asked before passing any judgments. I far exceeded the allowed word limit and have instead pasted much of what I intended to say here below. Well, let's see what she has to say. When I initially posted to Am I the Arsehole, I was prepared to face judgment and was open to constructive criticism. However, while I did receive many constructive comments, which I truly appreciate, I received many more that were hateful and unconstructive, and I will admit I did get defensive. But the attitude I took in the comments is not one that I brought into my interactions with my daughter. Please understand that I did not throw in her face all the kind things I feel I've done for her over the years, but was rather attempting to contextualize our relationship for strangers who have never met us. And before passing any further judgment in the comments, please check below for answers to a lot of the questions asked in the original thread. To answer a few questions, why did I not adopt her until 10 years after I came into her life? Because I never sought to force myself on her as her mother, and waited until she could give me explicit consent to adopt her. Why did I never buy her any stuffed animals? I did. I bought her many when I first met her, as well as one for her official adoption day and every adoption day celebration since. And I did technically gift her a stuffed animal for her graduation too. It was just a plush for her college's mascot, rather than a duplicate of a treasured plush from her childhood. So why did I not buy her a duplicate at any point over the last 16 years? I did not think to until my oldest graduated and received hers, by which point I, mistakenly, felt the significance would be lost. Both my bio kids received stuffies saved for them for decades, whereas she would have received one saved for only 4 years. Instead, I tried to honor her in other ways, such as I described in the comments, crafting her a cookbook of generational family recipes that I illustrated by hand because she is her own individual. Truthfully, while I understand the sentiment expressed in the comments, I don't believe recognizing differences is inherently a bad thing. The duplicate stuffies my bio kids received were duplicates of the very first stuffies to ever be in their crib with them. Their receival of them was a birth event, and I did not give birth to my youngest, but that does not mean that I love her any less, or that she is any less my daughter. We have established our own traditions honoring her entry into my life, such as celebration of her adoption day, and while I realize I could have handled the Stuffy situation better, I do believe that it was an honest mistake. But how could I not include her in a treasured family tradition, knowing how important it is, especially as an adopted child, to feel a part of the family? Because I truly did not realize this one specific tradition meant as much to her as it did. I have strived to include her in as many family traditions as possible throughout the years. As I mentioned in the comments, she speaks German because I taught and spoke it to her growing up, even though her father does not. We celebrate German traditions, such as baking countless batches of German Christmas cookies together every year, just the two of us. Neither of her siblings have any interest in baking, which is something that I grew up doing with my mum, and every year it is quality time that I deeply treasure. For her 16th birthday, I gifted her the locket that my mother gifted me on my 16th, which she had been gifted by my grandmother before me. This actually upset my eldest daughter, who had not received such a hand-me-down, and this is just to name a few. So given the fact that she has on occasion received and taken part in traditions my other kids have been excluded from, I did not think this Stuffy would carry as much weight as it ultimately did. But isn't her reaction an indication that there are larger issues at play, and that she has likely felt this way for a while? Perhaps. I am not a perfect adoptive mother and have never claimed to be, and I cannot see inside her brain, so I cannot know her true feelings. But my sense, and I may be wrong, is that the larger issues at play relate back to her bio mom, which is something that she expressed to me in our conversation. I did not disclose this in my original post because I did not believe it to be relevant, and it is also a painful topic within our family. But her bio mom committed suicide whilst in the thick of postpartum depression. This has obviously impacted my daughter, who has been in and out of therapy for years, grappling with feelings of loss and guilt. She is highly sensitive to feeling isolated within our family unit, which is something I should have taken into account in this situation, and I own that. I realize this is a huge hunk of text, but given the visceral reaction many had, I felt it was important to cover my bases. Come to whatever conclusions you all like, I will likely not be checking the comments for my own mental health and the well-being of my family. To all who left genuine advice, even if that meant calling me an asshole, I truly do appreciate you. And to all who said hateful things, especially in regard to the loss of my baby, please consider the impact your words may have moving forward. You're a good mum. It might have been a mistake not to gift her the plush, and it might, as you said, just have been indicative of some larger, big emotions going on, as graduating is a huge milestone, and going to college is an enormous life change that is very rewarding and exciting, but also stressful. But it sounds like you have been amazing about creating beautiful memories and experiences together. I think at some point the plush will be a distant memory. From your post, it seems pretty clear you do have a good relationship and you're a caring, empathetic parent. Enjoy your summer together. Someone made a mistake and is taking steps to repair it. We're all human and mistakes happen. It's how you deal with them after that makes a difference. I think it's a great outcome. Honestly, this is an update that Am I the Asshole didn't deserve to receive. I'm happy for OP and her daughter that it resolved so well. I suspect that a large part of the reason the daughter came to her as remorseful as she was after reading all of the abuse the commenters were piling on her mother and fearing she was being lumped in with them in OP's mind. Way to make the sad kid feel even worse, assholes. Now they got this relatively uplifting update, and most of them dickbags are probably proudly patting themselves on the back and crediting themselves with a happy outcome, which, as delineated in the above paragraph, they probably are responsible for, but it's not like they're framing it to themselves. What the? Am I the asshole? Should I have not said the mean words that I said? I don't know. And the whole thing just makes me kind of sick. Sorry, this is a hugely overblown rant due to my Am I the Asshole bullcrap meter reaching critical levels, and me needing to get this bile and hatred out of my system. I guess it's time for the straws to start accumulating again, so I'll see you back at my next TED Talk in approximately 6 to 8 months. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end the episode today. Very positive note, that last one. You shouldn't be toxic and say mean things to people on Am I the Asshole. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt, just so that it's not a toxic place. Those are my words of wisdom. That's where I'm going to leave you. Have a good day. Bye.